Welcome to Em.Powercoaching. Em.Powercoaching combines mental and physical fitness to help you connect the dots to unveil a more confident, energized and empowered version of you. So if you're ready, let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to Empowering You with Em.Powercoaching. So this week is part 2 of the Food Matters series. So if you've not already checked out part 1, that was last week's episode. And in that episode, we spoke all about calories, understanding your requirements and the role that calories have to play on your body. Very important episode. So I definitely recommend hopping back one either now or after you've had a little listen to this one. But today we're going to be talking about how your diet might be causing some of the symptoms that you might be facing right now and what you can do about it. And when I'm talking about health symptoms, we're looking at things like low energy levels, mood disorders, which are the two that we're going to talk about today. But it can also cover things such as the symptoms that you get from menopause, poor digestion, bad skin, poor hair health, all that kind of thing. There's a lot that kind of falls under the symptom umbrella. But today we're just going to look at 2. So we're going to look this week at how food can be used as a way to alleviate health symptoms. It is important to note first and foremost that if you are suffering with health symptoms, you must first seek out medical advice. The information in today's podcast is delivered to you as a way to support medical advice, and it is by no means a diagnosis or a cure. The advice provided today is to simply help alleviate your symptoms and work in partnership with any advice that you may have been given by a medical professional. Earlier this year, I became a certified nutritional therapist, and my role is to help people who are suffering with symptoms and to devise an individual plan of action that can help to support them and alleviate these problematic symptoms. Now, there may be many causes for your symptoms, but as a nutritional therapist, I just simply look at your diet and if there are any potential deficiencies that could be adding to your struggles and promoting these problematic symptoms that you might be facing. So today we're going to just discuss 2 common symptoms that I find many clients are struggling with, and these are exhaustion and chronic fatigue and mood disorders and depression. I think also at the minute that these 2 symptoms are a lot more common, let's say, at the minute. With everything that's kind of gone on over the past year, I do tend to find that more and more people are struggling with lack of energy, lack of motivation, and very much feelings of sadness or depression, and feeling very low in general to how they would normally, quote unquote, feel. So I think it would be a really good idea to look at these 2 today. Obviously, there's a lot of symptoms. When we talk about symptoms, it can be anything from, menopause, hot flushes, IBS, poor digestion, bad skin, poor hair health. So there's kind of a lot that falls underneath that umbrella. But that would take a very long time to discuss. So we're just going to focus on the 2 today that I seem to find are quite common at the minute. Now, both of these 2 symptoms can have a huge impact on your life, and although in more severe cases you may need to seek medical help, some of the symptoms can be alleviated with your diet, and in fact some of them can actually be brought on from your diet or lack of. Have you ever heard of the phrase, food is medicine? There's a reason why that phrase came around. It's completely true. Food is made up of vitamins, antioxidants, minerals, which are also all used in some medications. So it kind of makes sense. Now let's look at these two problematic symptoms, energy and depression, and how a specially selected diet might be able to help if you are currently struggling with these. So first up, we'll look at exhaustion and chronic fatigue. Now, exhaustion can heavily impact both your work and your home life. It can affect your focus and concentration for work-related tasks, meaning that you may fall behind. It can affect your motivation to take part in physical activity and can have an impact on your fitness levels or being able to maintain your fitness levels. And it can affect your enthusiasm in social situations if you're really low in energy. Therefore, affecting your social life as well. You know, you might find that you're turning down social events, or you just haven't got the energy to laugh at the joke that someone made, and you feel like you're coming across as a bit of a boring person to be around. And it's not that at all. It's just because you're so fucking tired. You've just got no energy, and that's all it is. But yeah, it can really affect how you are and your quality of life. Now, there are some medical diagnoses which do relate to fatigue, and there are some medical conditions, of course. So it is essential that if you do feel like you suffer with severe symptoms or severe exhaustion on a regular basis, that you do seek advice from a medical professional. But for the minor to moderate, and for those that have been given the all clear from a medical advisor, then yeah, chances are that your symptoms are related to your diet and your daily nutrition intake. Which means that the good news is that you can alleviate these symptoms just by incorporating foods which hold key vitamins. Now, when we're looking at energy, the main nutrients needed for energy production in the body are vitamin C and B complex, iron and magnesium. So vitamin C turns food into energy, and as explained in last week's episode, food is our body's fuel. But it's the vitamin C that breaks this down and transfers the food into energy. Now, vitamin B, there are 8 different types of vitamin B, and so vitamin B complex incorporates all 8 of these. That's what we mean by vitamin B complex. B vitamins help with hormone production, balancing blood sugar levels, fat metabolism, turning fat, sugars and proteins into energy, and they help the blood to carry oxygen, which is essential for energy. Iron is a component of enzymes, which is vital for energy production, and iron transports oxygen and carbon dioxide to and from your cells. And then magnesium is also essential for energy production, plus it helps to relax and improve bowel movements, which can add to feeling exhausted, tired, and just heavy and lethargic. So all of those there are the main vitamins that you need for energy production. But how do we go about getting these into the diet? Yes, you could have supplements. Supplements do help. But really we want to be looking at trying to get our vitamins and our minerals from whole foods. If you have ever looked on the back of a supplement package, you will see in the ingredients that there is a lot of shit that kind of goes into that little pill. And it's not, it's not just pure necessarily. Yes, there are some that are pure. But a lot of the time there'll be a lot of other crap ingredients thrown in there to make the pill the way that it is. Whereas when we're looking at food, we're looking at whole food, you can't really go wrong. So I do always recommend that you try first to up your vitamin and mineral intake with whole foods, and then obviously if you're really struggling, well, that's what the supplements are there for. So to boost your intake of the vitamins that we just spoke about, so vitamin C, B complex, iron and magnesium for energy, you want to look at incorporating some of these foods into your diet. So for vitamin C, peppers, broccoli, strawberries, kiwi and oranges. Now, peppers and broccoli are actually one of the highest for vitamin C, and I think a lot of people might be shocked to hear that, because everywhere we look and everywhere we see it's vitamin C is in oranges. Even the supplement is coloured orange, so it's wired into us. But actually, peppers and broccoli are your go-to foods for the highest levels of vitamin C. But of course, it can also be found in high quantities in strawberries, kiwis and oranges. Now, your vitamin B complex, we're going to be looking at foods such as sardines, wheat germ, mushrooms, salmon, and asparagus as well. These are all very high in vitamin B complex. Now, for iron, things like spirulina, which you can get that in a powder form. So I'm not a fan of spirulina myself, but it can be it can be made quite easy to have, because you can just get a scoop of it and pop it into a smoothie, or I think some people like to have it in omelettes. I did try that and it was disgusting. That's just my personal opinion. Do definitely give it a try if you want to. But then there's also, for iron, lamb and pork liver and spinach as well. Now, magnesium. You want to be looking at things like seeds, so pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. All of these are very, very high in magnesium. So there we go. Energy. If you are suffering with low energy and exhaustion and chronic fatigue, you want to be increasing your vitamin C, vitamin B complex, iron and magnesium, and you're looking at foods that we've just listed there. It might be that you need to go back and listen to this episode a second time with a pen and paper and write some of these down. That's absolutely fine. So let's now move on to mood disorders and depression. Again, there's so many different reasons that can bring this on. It can be things such as, the current world situation, for example. It could also be that you suffer with seasonal affective disorder. We've had some pretty shit weather here at the minute in the UK. It's been raining and windy and cold. So all of these kind of things can really affect your mood. And if you're stuck indoors all of the time with no sunlight, no natural lighting, then huge role to play in your mood. Again, it is vital that you seek medical advice if you do suffer with a mood disorder or you are experiencing depression or sadness on a regular basis. So just like exhaustion, there are many factors that can contribute to this. But being deficient in certain vitamins, however, does not help, and we can look to improve your mood with food, commonly known as food for your mood, which I'm sure you will have heard of as well at some point in your life. Because again, it's another true fact. Food can affect your mood. Vitamins play a vital role in homeostasis, so your balanced hormones. So if you have a deficiency in any vitamin, then this can disrupt your hormone balance. And as we know, your hormone balance affects your mood. So it all ties in, it all makes sense. Mood disorders include anxiety, feelings of worthlessness, sadness, worry, feeling irritable and restless, and that's just to name a few. One of the most common reasons, though, for mood disorders is poor nutrition, and that just results in poor mental and physical energy as well. So it really does affect everything as a whole. Now, a lack of omega-3 fats can lead to depression. So it would be a good place to start, I think, by trying just to first incorporate more foods that are rich in omega-3s. And some of these examples, you're going to be looking at mackerel, salmon, fresh tuna, not tin tuna, but fresh tuna, And then also flax seeds, walnuts and egg yolks as well. So these are all the foods that are really, really rich in your omega-3 fats. And yeah, there's a really high link to a lack of omega-3 leading to depression, so and low mood. So I think the first place to start it would make sense to have a look at your omega-3s and see if you're getting enough of those in. There's a very big difference to your omega-3 fats and just fats from things like chocolate and fried foods, and you'll have heard of this as probably good fats and bad fats, quote unquote. You want to get your good fats in with oily fish and stuff. I'm sure you've heard what I'm talking about here, and that's what we mean. We mean our omega-3s. So when we're looking at things like low mood and depression, let's first of all look at your omega-3s and have a go at incorporating foods like oily fish and seeds as well. Now, it would also be beneficial if you are suffering with depression and low mood to reduce your intake of refined sugars in foods, because these just add to it as well. Stimulants such as tea, coffee, chocolate, alcohol, again, all add to it. And perhaps try a couple of weeks without wheat or dairy as well, because allergies also lead to mood disorders, and it's amazing how many people don't realise that they have a food allergy. There is the other end of that, where some people think that they've got every allergy under the sun, but then you've got some people who don't know that they've got an allergy to food. They just think, it's just their body and how they react. They don't see it as an allergy. But yeah, that can actually lead to mood disorders as well. So might be worth maybe having a go at alleviating a couple. I would recommend just for 1 or 2 weeks, just to see if there's any change. But yeah, it's not for me to diagnose your condition, and you must seek medical advice first if you're suffering with either of the 2 symptoms noted in today's show. But in the event that this has already been done, then yes, we can look at structuring your diet just to ensure that deficiencies are not to blame, and ways in which we can help to alleviate the symptoms that you have been struggling with, because it really can be quite damaging to your life if you are suffering with these 2 problems. So yeah, I'm just going to cover those 2 today. Like I say, there are so many different symptoms that we could talk about, and ways in which food can be used as a way to alleviate them, but without giving you so much information to go away with and being absolutely mind-boggled, I thought it might be a good idea just to do 2 today, and keep it nice and simple, because that's what this podcast is about. It's trying to give some simple advice, and I feel like these 2 symptoms are very much on the rise at the minute, or at least I'm hearing a lot more people coming to me with struggles around these. So yeah, we're going to leave it there with those 2. Your diet is very important. I know it's probably one of the hardest things to really get right when it comes to health and fitness. It's easy to find information on, exercise, and I mean, you can go outside and you can go for a walk and you're keeping active. But when it comes to food, I do think there's a lot more to it, which makes it more challenging for an individual. For example, there's a lot of emotion that's connected with food, and this can have this can have an effect on the choices that you make, whether it's good or bad, quote unquote, food choices that you're making. But it's really important to remember that every choice that you make is affecting you as a human being, whether that's in a good, positive way or whether that's in a negative way. Just depends on the type of food choices that you're making. Food is an essential to our bodies, and again, like I mentioned on last week's episode, Food is our way of getting calories. Calories is energy. Energy is our body's fuel, just like electricity is to a light bulb and like fuel is to a car. We need it. We need calories and we need food. But what we're putting into our bodies makes a huge difference to how we function and how we perform. Just like if you put shit fuel into a car, it might be a bit jolty. If you put good fuel in there, it's going to run smoothly. I don't actually know if that happens, but it worked in my head. I don't know much about cars. But you know where I'm going with this. It really does make a difference. So it's difficult, yes, for me to just say now, every time you go and make a food choice and go and reach for something in your food cupboard or out the fridge, to stop and think how that's affecting your body. That's quite an unrealistic way of thinking, I do believe. Maybe you'll do it for a day or two and then, it'll kind of go out the window. So instead, I just think it's really important to try and have a balanced diet as much as possible, rather than overthinking everything, to try and avoid any nutrient deficiencies. Just try and incorporate a good wide variety of foods into your diet on a daily basis, or a weekly basis. For example, you might need to up your omega-3s, like we just spoke about now, if you're suffering with mood disorders and depression, and that might come from having oily fish and salmon. Well, salmon can be quite expensive, and to have that like on a daily basis is going to be quite costly. So maybe you just have it 1 or 2 times a week for your dinners. Same goes that if you're going to have peppers and mushrooms, you might not want to have those every single day. So maybe you'll have mushrooms with your breakfast on Monday and Wednesday, and maybe you'll have peppers in your salads at lunchtime. Whatever it might be. You see where I'm going with this. I think it's try and look at your plates as a whole, and look at your food over the course of a week, and try and see if you can switch things up a bit. This is also why I do struggle a little bit with nutrition plans specifically for fitness goals and diets, because a diet is all about restricting a certain food, cutting out a certain food from your nutritional plate, let's say, and the only reason for doing this with fitness goals and being on a diet is to have an outcome of either fat loss or weight gain, and that's fine. But at the same time, you could be causing bigger problems in the body by doing this. So you think that you're doing something healthy, but actually, when you really drill into it, on paper, you're probably not that healthy, because you've got all of these other nutrient deficiencies going on. And, as I spoke about at the start of this podcast, if you're deficient in one area of vitamins, then this is going to knock your hormonal balance. And when that goes out of balance, well, that's when other problems arise. So it's kind of looking at it as a whole. But I don't want to overcomplicate anything. Nutrition isn't complicated, but I do know that it can seem that way to some people, and I understand that not everyone has the time to analyse the diet either. But this is your health, and how you value that, well, that's your choice. Now, if you do feel like you want to invest in your health more, but you need that extra support, I can offer you my one-to-one nutritional therapy coaching. We will analyse your current diet, highlight any areas that may be prompting your unwanted symptoms. Now, I work with 8-week plans, and I work with people who are truly prepared to make those positive changes to their life. So, if this is for you, or if this sounds like you, then do please get in touch with me, and, let's get you back to feeling your best, because the worst thing is when you just don't feel like you anymore, because you've got these symptoms that you're struggling with on a daily basis that are just holding you back. And the answer could just be right round the corner to all of that. And it could literally just be in your fridge. So yeah, as always, my contact details can be found in the show notes, but do please get in touch or feel free to reach out to me on my social platforms as well, because I love connecting with you guys and I do love answering your questions. And if I do feel like there are some questions that are popping up more commonly than others, then, this would prompt a very good topic for an upcoming podcast as well. So yeah, do get in touch with me on that. You can obviously reach out on my Instagram, which is Em.Powercoaching UK. That's the same as my Facebook page as well, Em.Powercoaching UK. As mentioned, I do have a women's health support group. It's a private group on Facebook called Empowered Together, and we are doing a workshop on the 28th of March, Sunday. This Sunday, is it? Yeah. And it's completely free, and we're going to be looking at calories. So like how I mentioned in the podcast that I did last week, but this is going to be a workshop on it. So I'm actually going to take everyone through a calorie calculation, so that everyone comes out with their own daily calorie intake with regards to their goals. Excuse me. And then we're going to look at how to track the calories and how to add meal planning into your lifestyle as well, if that's something that you want to go down. And everyone who does attend that workshop will also receive a free copy of my recipe guide, which is a collection of very simple and healthy recipes that I love. And they've all got calorie calculations with them as well, just to make it a bit easier if you are tracking your calories. So yeah, that's over on Facebook, Empowered Together Women's Health Support Group, ladies only. Sorry, guys. So thank you very much for joining me once again this week. Again, as I always say, your support really does mean a lot to me, and I am forever grateful to have you listening and supporting this podcast. And I really hope that you're obviously learning something from it as well. If you do feel like this can benefit anyone that you might know, please do share it with them. Let them know where I am, how they can find me. I do this to reach as many people as possible. I already have my social platforms. I work in a gym. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. And this is another way for me to try and reach more people. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that's my passion. My passion is to educate. And, it breaks my heart to think that there's someone out there who is suffering with, low confidence, low self-esteem, intimidated by gym environments, suffering with symptoms affecting the daily life, all these kind of things that I include in my coaching services. It breaks my heart. And so I want to help people. And that's why I do the podcast, to reach more people. So if you can help me with that, and if you can support me by reaching more people, then I will just always forever be grateful. And you can do that simply just by, copying the link of this show, posting it on your social pages, screenshot maybe on your stories, or just talking and telling someone about it. Anything, word of mouth, it does wonders. And for my for my Apple Podcast listeners, you guys are the only ones at the minute who can leave reviews of the show. So I really appreciate if you are an Apple podcast listener, I guess that's what I would say. If I would really appreciate a review, because it's very hard for anyone else to leave reviews, and the reviews do definitely go a long way as well. So yeah, relying on you guys for that one. I'm going to leave it there for this week. This is part 2 of the Food Matters series that I'm doing, all about nutrition. So there are another 2 weeks to come up. So definitely make sure that you subscribe to this show, because then you'll get a notification every time a podcast comes out and is released, and you'll get first dibs on hearing that new podcast. So there are 2 more to come up on nutrition. But thank you again for joining me this week, and I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I'll be with you next week. Bye.